Get them right, gonna have a brand new show tonight with glitz and glam on the marquee. Perhaps a Tony nominee. Stars beam brightly, see them glow. Sell out nightly, SRO. It's time to applaud the Broadway beat. Stars beam brightly, see them glow in the sunlight of a show. Life is sweet on the world's most famous street.
Tickets, please.
Take a seat
Cue the band.
and have your feet to the rhythm of the Broadway beat. The Broadway beat. Broadway beat.
Hello, I'm Richard Ridge, and welcome to Broadway Beat 2007, our weekly half-hour behind-the-scenes look at the very best of a New York theater on Broadway and beyond. This week we visit the Roundabout Theater Company's new production of the 1966 Jerry Bach Sheldon Harnick musical, The Apple Tree, starring Kristin Chenoweth, Marc Kudisch, and Brian Darcy James. But before that, let's start off by giving you a look at a musical that didn't quite make it, High Fidelity. The critics didn't buy it, and neither did the audience. It opened and closed in less than 2 weeks at the Imperial Theater, but we thought we'd give you a look at this ambitious new musical, which featured lyrics by Amanda Green, music by Tom Kitt, and direction by Walter Bobbie. We stopped by their opening night celebration to chat with them and the two stars, Will Chase and Jenn Colella.
Nothing. Always dreamed someday I'd have this wonderful career. I went where the music took me, and oh God, it took me here. And they'll write it on my tombstone, right beside my date of birth. Part-time stoner went from clerk to owner of the last real record store.
Think about it.
Real record
Gonna get up on the roof and shout it.
Real record store.
Baby, hold us all, I got it.
And I wouldn't change nothing.
Wouldn't change a word, I wouldn't change a word. Wouldn't change a word, I wouldn't change a thing. Wouldn't change a thing. Wouldn't change a thing.
Well, I was a fan of the novel long before I knew this was happening. So and I've read anything Hornby's written since I first picked up this novel. But I think what really grabbed me was Amanda Kitt, David Lindsay-Abaire, and Tom Kitt. I think they're completely fresh, original writers, and I have great confidence in our producing team. Our lead producers, Kevin and Jeffrey and Robin, are strong. They're smart. They are courageous, and they're putting the new work of new writers on Broadway, and that's rare these days. So the whole package. I mean, to do a contemporary romantic comedy from a man's point of view, I think is very original. To do a rock and roll romantic comedy is very fresh. I found the life force of it exhilarating, and basically I think what happens is, for me, I'm attracted to writers, and the idea of having the source material be at Hornby and then having three young gifted people on board, was an opportunity I couldn't pass up.
You know, what was interesting the other night is there were all these 20-year-old girls in front of me. This is my niece's favorite film, and she was like, this is the one show this season. She kept saying, I've got to see High Fidelity. What is that connection between these girls and this story?
You know, I don't know. I think what's interesting is that the central character has this obsession with 5 great romances that changed his life. Maybe that's where they hook in. I'm not sure, because it's such a male-oriented point of view. But the thing is, I think Will Chase is so unendingly charismatic and charming and handsome and romantic and witty. I think he's just a very appealing leading man. I think he's a star.
Talk about the audience's reaction in New York.
Well, we had the audience's reaction in New York. You know, we had a very different show in New York than we had in Boston. And it was great to see that everything we learned in Boston and we changed was the right thing to do. So the reaction in New York clearly was stronger, and the show just sort of grows and rolls forward. We had the opportunity of going to Boston, doing a show, doing some changes in Boston, but then doing significant rewrites when we finished there, going back into the studio and letting those things take place. And I think one of the most significant things we learned in Boston, and you learn it from the audience, is that the show's about Rob. And the more we made the show Rob-centric, the more we held on to his point of view and his contract with the audience and the need to tell this story, the show just had an emotional gravitas, but also had a connection. There was a great contract between our leading player and the audience, and I think that was the significant change for me. And New Yorkers, you know, I'm a New Yorker. When New Yorkers when they love something, they love it big. They love it with an open heart.
I read the book in 1999, and I immediately thought it would make a wonderful musical.
So was it an easy musical to come to life, to create songs for?
Well, it's an easy musical to write songs for because Nick Hornby's writing is just so incredibly witty and smart and poignant. The song ideas just sort of leap off the page. But to actually create the musical and find Rob, the main character of Rob is someone who is, you have to activate him and really find his journey. And so that was a bit of a challenge. But I'm really proud of what we did.
So you started this how long ago? Was it 5 years ago or 7 years ago?
Well, the idea first came about in 1999 when I read the novel, but Amanda and I actually started working on it about 2002.
So I know that there was no producers early on. This is sort of something you just did. So how did you write the musical?
Well, Amanda and I wrote some songs, and we were able to, we found out who had the rights, and they were with Disney, so we were able to get a meeting with them, and we presented a few songs to them, and they loved them, and they gave us permission to pursue writing the musical. So then everything sort of came from there. We found an agent, that agent brought producers down to see our presentation of the songs.
Kitt, who's a friend of mine, the composer, we were at the BMI Musical Theater Writing Workshop together, and he came to me with the idea.
There they go.
Very rowdy crowd. He came up to me with the idea 5 years ago, and I'm a huge Nick Hornby fan. I thought it was a brilliant idea. And Tom and I, on our own, set out to get the rights, and we wrote songs on spec, and then we got the rights, and we started performing them in cabarets around town. The producers came and signed on, and the rest is, there you go, history.
Talk about the challenges. I mean, there's so much going on in that book. I mean, was it easy to pull songs out of it?
There are many song moments that jumped out for us right away, and some of them are still in the show today, and some of them we had to jettison in the service of telling the story. But the thing I love about the book is the characters all have such a great sense of humor, and it's so contemporary and fresh, and little things happen to them, and they have huge emotions about it. So we found many moments that to us screamed out the song moments. So that's it.
Talk about Boston. It's very rare nowadays that a show gets to go out of town. You had that opportunity of going to Boston. What did you learn about the show in Boston, and what work did you want to do before you opened in New York?
It was invaluable because, on paper and in rehearsal, we felt like really strong about our show. And we went to Boston. We still loved our show, but all the moments that we thought would score weren't, not all of them, but several. And we really learned so much about what was working and what wasn't. And based on our experience in Boston, we rewrote the show extensively. And it really just gave us such a great view of once something is on stage, what is working, what's coming. We knew what we wanted to come across, but somehow some of it wasn't. So it was a great learning experience. So we learned.
It's actually when you throw the audience into the mix. That's the last component.
It is, and also once you see it on stage and you're removed from it a little bit, all of a sudden you go, oh, that doesn't make him sympathetic, or well, that was funny on the page, but here it isn't. So it really is an invaluable experience. I'm so grateful we had it.
Sometimes all you need is a sliver of hope, and you'll make us succeed, or at least a door open. What once seemed impossible is there in your reach. You're riding away, or at least on the beach. If I've got a chance, then I've got a chance, then I got a chance. Hey, 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 hey. I've got a notchy chance of your love. 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 I've been driving me. You're thinking
just a little over a year ago, I did both workshops, and I had, seen the movie. I hadn't read the book yet. I read the book, and then, I sat on my butt a little while they were casting and seeing everybody on the planet for it, and then I eventually got the gig, and I was like, psyched. Walter called me. He's like, do you want to carry a $13 million musical on your back? I was like, yeah, I think. So, yeah.
Talk about this great role. Did you know the book? Did you know the film before? And talk about the role you play.
Yeah, I hadn't read the book. I'd seen the film, and then getting to read the book, I thought, how are they going to, in capturing the narrative, I thought, I hope they can capture the narrative of the piece. And then I read some of the script and some of the songs, like, oh, they've nailed it. They've really nailed it. So, as Walter says, I get to have a contract with the audience every night, and I get to share this thing with them, and I get to go through it with them. It's not like it's already happened and I'm reporting it. So it's a blast to get to do.
And talk about the role. This is my niece's favorite movie. Talk about the guy you play.
Well, Rob's that lovable a-hole, if you will. I think everybody can kind of connect with him, and not everybody's a slacker and gets all that, but I think, we're all obsessed with something, aesthetically. It might not be records, it might be scotches and cigars, but I think we've all got that obsession, and we've all been in love, and I think it's a contemporary love story, and, we don't apologize for anything. We kind of, and Rob's journey is really that big. It's not that big a journey, and to where he can say I'm sorry and tell this woman he loves it. So,
Let's talk about doing a new musical. Written by Tom Kitt and, David Lindsay Abaire and Amanda Green. Talk about that.
Well, they really get the heart of the book, and Tom is such an incredible. He's got rock and roll in his blood. It's not like he's trying to write in a rock and roll style. We have send-ups and things like that he has to write in a style of Axl Rose or Beastie Boys or something like that. But it's the great thing about her lyrics and his music, that what makes rock and roll in theater, I think, really hard to do, is that you can get complete thoughts and complete ideas, and they both seem to write well together. And then David's book is just, he takes from Nick what works from the original book, he takes from the screenplay what works from the screenplay, and then David's imagination is so great that he can create these other wonderful moments that aren't in either.
I know you guys opened in Boston. They've done a lot of work on the show between Boston and New York. When did it come together for you?
It came together at our first read-through when we got back from Boston. And our creative team was really not afraid to just make big, huge changes. And they knew that going into Boston, that it was our first draft, and we were ready to do it for an audience, but the piece was not yet ready. And when they started to add more of Nick's narrative, and, I got a monologue last week, the top 5 things I miss about Laura. I got that literally, a week ago, and it's one of those moments that changes the show. And it's like one of those heartfelt moments that the audience wants there to be for their hero or anti-hero, whatever you want to call me. And that's when it kind of comes together, when I get to have this contract, like I say, with the audience.
There's nothing better for an artist, to feel like you're part of a creative process, and everyone in this particular production was nothing but collaborative and open, and we all had something to do with it, and everybody's voice was heard, and so it feels like a dream come true.
Talk about the role that you play and what attracted you to her, want to play her.
Well, Laura, I immediately found myself in love with Laura because she is someone who is struggling to break free of her cocoon and all of a sudden be the woman that she knew she could be. Meaning, for our generation, we spend our 20s trying to figure out who we are and what it is we really want to do to make a difference. And she's decided that and is hoping that her partner will evolve at a somewhat, similar pace. And so I see the humanity and the passion in her, and I tried to infuse some of my own passion and humanity and make her come to life. Like a classic Eagles song, you just can't help but sing along, even though it sometimes gets annoying too. I just know I wanna be wherever I can wake and see you there next to me.
Oh, Laura,
That is if you're free.
I'm pretty sure I'm free.
I wanna come
The Roundabout Theater Company continues their great season with a new production of the 1966 Jerry Bach Sheldon Harnick musical The Apple Tree, directed by Gary Griffin. This unique evening of one-act musicals is about men, women, and a little thing called temptation. This production is based on the 2005 Encores production and stars Tony Award winner Kristin Chenoweth in a tour de force performance as Eve, Princess Barbara, and Ella. Joining her are Brian Darcy James and Marc Kudisch. Co-starring with them is Walter Charles.
I think first it was the opportunity to do another Bach and Harnick. I'm huge fans of their work, and it was a lesser-known show, a show a lot of people haven't seen. And then along came Kristin, the opportunity to get to do with her, and then the rest of our company. And it's a unique piece. It's really, for its time, it's quite experimental. And so the chance to get to present this score and to get to present it with this cast was so appealing that it was really an easy sell on my part to get to do it. I wanted to do it from that, and I think also it's really about love and about the mysteries of love and the men and women and the mysteries of that relationship that really I think it plays out beautifully, and it's been a thrill to work on, truly.
See, what I loved about it is you kept the first act so simplistic, obviously with the Adam and Eve thing. I just thought the way the organic, the way this show, grows into color and everything was so interesting. Was that something you wanted to do from the very beginning?
Yes, we did. We felt, there's no better vision of Eden than you could put in your imagination. And the way the play's written, it's described in the writing in a beautiful way. So it was to just sort of support that with an idea, and to let your mind, very much like Our Town, to very simple sets. And then as the evening went along, we required more visuals to do the storytelling, but it was really about that simple idea of what would theater have been in that time. It would have been very simple as well. So we tried to sort of theatrically grow as the stories moved along.
I think the hardest thing about this show would be casting your leading lady, because the show has never been done since the original with Barbara Harris. I know Phyllis Newman did the matinees on Thursdays back then, but why do you think it's such a perfect blending between performer and actress?
Well, for one thing, Kristin has an enormous range as an actress. She's her abilities and her sense of play. She's a playful kid, in a way. She has that, but I think audiences trust her, and so that she can take them to a lot of different places and say, and they will go with her. They will go with what she wants, and that's I think one of the most rewarding parts about it.
Now in the average apple, you're accustomed to skin, seeds, flesh, and core. But you will find that these are special apples that give you so much more. Why, every seed contains some information you need to speed your education. The seeds indeed of all creation are here.
I break the fourth wall more than most, but that's because that is my relationship. I always said through rehearsals, I'm waiting for my scene partner to show up, which is the audience, because my relationship every night is to the audience specifically. It's very Brechtian. I am the narrator, I am the balladeer. As the snake, I'm in the scene, but after that, I then say to the audience, all right, so you saw the idea of temptation with Adam and Eve. You know where it comes from. How does it exist in modern day? Because the show is not about temptation. The show is about the choices that we make when tempted. Because is temptation an evil thing? Is having knowledge an evil thing? Because, like I even say, the snake introduces Adam and Eve to their real relationship. Life is so much better when they leave the garden. Adam says it himself. So is that evil? Ultimately, and a little evil does a lot of good, and so in the second act with the Lady and the Tiger, I'm the balladeer, and I show up as what? The Tiger Keeper. I'm there for the moments of temptation, and then of course I narrate, comment, on what happens during the course of it. As the narrator, I am the godmother. I always grant the temptation, and then comes the question of what do you do with it? You want it? There it is. Are you sure you want it? You know, it's that old adage, be careful what you wish for.
Talk about having Sheldon Harnick and Jerry Bach in the rehearsal room.
Well, you know, I mean, anytime you can have any originator in a rehearsal room, it's always a real joy. Being now not so young in this business, being around for a while, having had the experience of working with a lot of originators in this business, I'm a firm believer in history, and I'm a firm believer that you don't know where you are until you know where you've been. And to work with Sheldon, to work with Jerry, I mean, these guys are huge creators. And what they wrote with Mike Nichols as a director back in the 60s was really quite wonderful and brilliant. And I think it's more of what we should do is pay respect to the past, to know where we're going in our present and our future. So I'm an old school guy. I always love that. And you can't say that it's not contemporary because I'm up there playing a guitar, singing pop. But with a story behind it, very much like a Woody Guthrie or a Bob Dylan. You know, it's like, I don't know, I always think we should go back to our past when we feel like we've lost where we are in the present.
Still, it's possible the day may come when momentarily the world wears thin. If I'm weary of the world outside me, I can always take a good look in. For along with every cloud and cobweb, I'm emphatically a member of this diversified, curious, fascinating, bountiful, beautiful, beautiful world I love.
Well, to be honest, I knew that Kristin Chenoweth was doing it, and I knew that it was the Roundabout and Gary Griffin, and those three things were you know, you wouldn't really need to say anything else to anybody, I would imagine. But upon looking at the script and studying it, as I didn't really know it, the uniqueness of it, again, the word comes up a lot with this show, and the ability and the chance to play four different parts, really, essentially, is something that you don't get a chance to do very often. And the kind of zany quality of these characters is just so much fun, and it's a great chance a challenge too, to try to let go enough to achieve what I think could be a lot of fun.
Well, talk about the roles that you play in the show.
In the first act, I play Adam, opposite Kristin Chenoweth's Eve, and it's the age-old struggle between man and woman to kind of find some kind of equal footing in terms of relating. Men are from Venus or Mars, I can't remember which, but you know what I'm saying. And then in the second act, which is the second story, I play a war captain that comes back and is in love with Kristin's Princess Barbara, and they have this forbidden love, and so that's their relationship in that. It's about jealousy and trying to avoid that at all costs. And then the third act is Kristin plays Passionella, a chimney sweep who is turned magically into a movie star, her wildest dream. Likewise, my nerdy George L. Brown character is turned into his dream, which is to become a rock star, and so they come together in the midst of those that magical kind of construction.
I've got what you need. I know how much you want it. Yeah. Santa, I know my father would kill me if he knew my heart was set on giving what I got to you. Yeah. I feel elated. I feel so happy. And so I've been so challenged by this role and these roles, and it's really been a blessing. It's brought so much joy into my life for the theater again, and I feel so at home. I feel like I'm where I should be, and I feel happy that the world is seeing this show again.
It's funny because we all lived vicariously through the vinyl of his 1966 show and photos and all. What was it like having Sheldon Harnick and Jerry Bach in the rehearsal rooms?
You don't get that very often. I mean, I did with Wicked, but a lot of times I do shows where the composers have passed. These guys still invest. For example, Sheldon wrote a line for Passionella. Flip says, "Do you dig Brecht, man?" And she says, "Hoot." They're still thinking, and just to have them there and to have their love and support and them say, "We wouldn't do it without you," I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that for a musical theater performer.
This is the perfect blending of performer and roles. Why do you think it's a great match for you?
Because I get to utilize all my gifts, and I have not been able to do that, to be honest, so far. This is the first time in one evening that I get to do it all, if you will, and they just don't write roles like that anymore, and they write wonderful roles, but not like that. Sometimes I feel like I'm born in the wrong time, but I'm not, because I'm here now doing this, so it's a gift. It's just a gift.
Look at the hair, look at the shape, look everywhere. I am such a divine me. Every studio will sign me. My cup runneth over. Whoever saw such a complete wow. Nobody will say no to me now.